John Carpenter's The Thing is my favorite horror movie of all time. This movie really shows Carpenter at his best. All the elements seem to come together to form a graphic, gripping, and tense movie. However, upon its initial release, the film was a critical and commercial flop. Critics and audiences didn't seem to take too well to the gory thriller. So, without getting too heavily into spoiler territory, although the film came out in 1982, you've had some time to see it, let me explain why The Thing didn't do so well at its release. First, let's get into some background. The Thing is set in 1982 on a military outpost in Antarctica. We're introduced to our cast starring Kurt Russell. Kurt, this is the 80s. That computer was expensive. And oddly enough, sweet old Wilford Brimley.
Come on, man. You don't want to hurt anybody.
Diabetes.
Oh, what a nice old man.
I don't want to stay out here anymore. I want to come back inside.
Oh, he just wants to come in from the cold. Just let him in. It's okay.
Funny things. I hear funny things out here.
Our cabin fever riddled cast find a sweet little pooch that's being shot at by crazy Norwegians. So naturally, they just take the dog into their own kennel because they're just that nice, and they go about their business. The problem is, spoiler, the dog is actually an alien from another planet that wants to kill every living thing on the base. Oh, and it can imitate synthetic organisms, so you never know which one of your friends is actually going to eat you. Soon, paranoia hits the group as they are desperately trying to find out who is real and who is the Thing. Woo! Now, despite becoming a cult classic in later years, the original reception of the film was pretty negative. The film grossed only under $14 million, despite having a budget of $15 million. The New York Times called the film instant junk, and Newsweek claimed that suspense was thrown out the window because of the special effects, and that drama was destroyed by sacrificing everything at the altar of gore. To this day, The Thing only has a 57 on Metacritic. So why was the film so poorly received? Well, it wasn't just one thing, see what I did there, but rather many that caused the film to flop. One theory is that E.T. had just released literally 2 weeks before the release of this movie, and after seeing a story about a friendly, loving alien, audiences didn't want to see a bleak, nihilistic, and graphic alien movie. Blade Runner also premiered on the same exact day as The Thing, which also may have taken audiences away to watch Ridley Scott's masterpiece of a film. The last theory we're going to touch on is that this was arguably the most graphic, big-budget movie to date. General audiences may not have been ready for it, and critics may have been blinded by the graphic nature of the film. Before this, there were graphic movies that were successful, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in almost all of those films, the protagonist gets away. There's a somewhat hopeful ending. This is not so in The Thing. It's a bleak, nihilistic, and perhaps inevitable end. Maybe our protagonist was just doomed from the start. The movie ends on the burning camp. Slow pull out, and we're gone. The end. That's it. Perhaps it was this lack of a happy ending that turned audiences away from the film. They didn't want to leave the theater depressed or angry. They wanted to leave on a happier note that The Thing never gave them. If you enjoy horror movies, though, The Thing is really perfect. It's scary in all the right times, you enjoy the characters and relate to them, and in the end, they don't really do anything that you wouldn't do to survive. And maybe that's it. Audiences didn't want to admit that they would be helpless in this situation just as much as our characters. And eventually succumb to the inevitable.